Hey everyone, I've been asked to do another video on my philosophy on life, my ideas surrounding free will, my beliefs on the afterlife, whether it be religious, what happens when we die, etc. It's important to state that the reason why this isn't a fear pattern for me, because people say, how do you know if you're right? And I say, I don't know that I'm right. The belief is 99.9% of the time not the problem. It's the rigidity in the belief, which is unfortunate because it's how most people hold beliefs. So I'll give you an example. People say, I know for a fact that there is a God, or I know for a fact this is what happens when you die. You don't know that. And that's why it's called faith. And that is completely okay. It doesn't mean you're wrong. It also doesn't mean you're right. That's very difficult for people to really understand. Because what happens is when you have a very strong belief about religion or the afterlife or political belief or an economic belief, you hold that tightly like a badge of honor. Remember, if I'm in a general suit, most people have badges: ADHD, neurodivergent, Republican, Democrat, Christian, Catholic, atheist, etc. I'm just a person who just does not believe in God or the afterlife. I don't even call myself an atheist. You cannot be one thing. No one can be one particular thing. It's like when someone says, I am a basketball player, and I say, no, you're just a person who plays basketball. And they say to me, well, that's semantics. I say, well, it's not, because if you lose the ability to play basketball at, say, the professional level, you don't spiral into a depression and potentially, unfortunately, even self-harm because you've built this idea off yourself. You've built this encompassing, this is who I am, but it's not who you are by any means. And the reason why you got into that is more than likely genetics, luck, timing, etc. So before I go any further, please subscribe, hit that button down below. Let me know what you think about this. These videos can be very important. And one last thing, remember, whether you disagree with me or not is not the problem. The rigidity in your ability to, and how you say I'm wrong, that's not going to bother me because I don't mind if you think I'm wrong. I'm also not scared of God's wrath if he's real. The reality is, I would imagine if he is real, he's a forgiving person. I would say I act quite virtuously. I've made many mistakes in my life, and that's not good enough, then God has his own problems. And I think that's how I look at it. And I'm not scared of that. And I don't have that conditional acceptance anymore like many people have. So that's why I don't see any reason to believe in a God from my point of view. So we know for a fact that morals have changed throughout history. That is a fact. Because what was moral and virtuous in certain eras, and there are things that have remained constant to a degree, not wanting to harm people, but then again, you could argue against that with cannibalistic tribes and people do wanting to harm people. And there has been a lot of really tragic things that have happened throughout history. We also know that you don't need to be religious to act in a good manner. That's another myth. So you hear people say, in order to be virtuous and in order to be a good person, which, by the way, there is no such thing as a good or bad person, just like I don't believe in the bad seed theory. I'm reading this book right now. Tremendous book called The Anatomy of Evil. It's a big book. It's taken me a month or so to read. And they talk about the bad seed. There's no such thing as a bad seed. Not in our philosophy. There can't be, because if there was a bad seed, that means every action since they were born would be bad. They would have came out of the womb with the umbilical cord, take a knife and stab the nurse. They would be a bad seed full and through. They're just more prone genetically, environmentally, etc., nurture versus nature, to do really bad acts, which then become habits, which then changes brain structure, which is scary for people to hear. It's not as simple as there's a bad seed. That's a very superficial way of thinking. Again, the reason why I don't hold this against anyone is I did not think like this ever until I developed very, very severe OCD 5 years ago and had to really change my philosophy on life. Okay, so do I believe in free will? Maybe, but not as much as what I would say most people are. The reason why I don't, and I'll use some basic examples. If you ask me right now whether I like pizza, and I say yes, well, I don't have pizza in front of me, so I'm not tasting it as we speak. So that answer is coming from some sort of firing synapses in my brain and in my memory centers of pathways that have been able to remember taste of pizza, maybe my first time having pizza or the last time I had it, which was a week ago, 5 days ago. I had some amazing barbecue chicken, avocado, bacon pizza. Fire. And I don't think it's as inspirational as people think it is. I think previous experiences and just random luck with people bumping into each other, in my opinion, like, I don't believe in destiny. Rob was destined to find Ellis's principles. No, he just got very, very lucky, weird timing more than likely. He found it and it happened to work for him. He could have easily found Ellis's principles, read the books, and said, fuck this is stupid, and then we're all screwed. So, and same thing with Ellis when he was originally a psychoanalyst of the Freudian and Carl Jung theories. And he could have easily said, yeah, this isn't really the best way to do it, but let's just go with it. Instead of saying, I don't really like the way this is, and then creating REBT, which is the original CBT. A lot of people have watered down CBT where it's not even CBT anymore, and it's just talk therapy, which is not good. There's pros and cons to that, but there's a lot more cons when it comes to changing your belief systems. It has to be much more emotive when you're breaking down fears. So that's one of the reasons I don't believe in free will. It just doesn't really make a lot of sense to me. I think a lot more things are just random luck, genetics, timing. I saw a good video where an individual was talking to another famous individual who sold a company when he was young for hundreds of millions of dollars, or a couple $100 million. And he said to him, now that you've done this once, it will be so easy to do it again. And the person said, yeah, I don't really agree with that. And then the person who said that statement, he built his whole idea of $100 million offers and stuff. I'm sure he's a great individual. The amount of people that will make a $100 million offer are so rare that the book doesn't even make sense for the masses. When I look at the most people who follow these individuals, their habits are so messed up that they're so far away from even conceptualizing what $1 million would feel like, let alone $100 million. And that's not to say that you can't strive for that, but there's many other things in your house that have to be organized, self-discipline, getting up when your alarm goes off before you can even imagine that. And the individual he was talking to had invented Quest bars. And the person said, one of the things I did like what this individual says, no, I don't think that's possible. I got lucky with market timing. And the individual with the $100 million offers person said, yeah, he wasn't seeing that, which is very silly to me. Your ability to sell a company for $1 billion and then recreate that just because you've done it before is very rare. Very, very rare. So I like to live in the most realistic, in my opinion. I try to walk the line of reality as close as I can. My philosophy on life is, life has absolutely no inherent meaning whatsoever. It's the meaning you assign to it, which you can change when you want. Not saying it's going to be easy to change beliefs, but it can. There's more than likely, in my opinion, nothing affecting us, because I can't see how that would be. If there's a rule such as, the number one most important thing in life is to be a good person. You hear many people say that. Well, there are many people who don't do that. But then what happens is, if you are constantly in your argumentation and your communication skills, taking the goalpost and moving it further and further, you have a very, very bad, in my opinion, communication style. And the reason why it's bad is because nothing you say can be challenged. I'm always open to being challenged. So when people say, well, how do you know that Ellis principles work best? I say, well, we see really good results with them. We've all recovered from OCD, so I think that's pretty good. We're not scared of relapsing, but if there's another better way out there, then we're open-minded to looking at that. That's a pretty rational response. What another rational response is, you're an idiot, Nick. This is why you're wrong. This is why the beliefs I believe in are right, and you are doomed to go to hell. That's okay. You can hold that belief, but I think you're doing yourself a major disservice and you're shutting yourself off from many things in this life. But again, the other myth is that if you don't believe in, say, religious principles or free will, etc., then you just will become a heathen scumbag. And that's just not true. It's just simply not true. There are a lot more people that believe in atheistic, agnostic principles than the world believes, but they're so afraid to say anything because they're afraid of, I'm not afraid of people being shamed or guilty to me. I live in a very religious area. Colorado Springs is a very conservative religious area. I have absolutely no problem telling people I don't believe in God. None, zero. I don't like to. A lot of people I lie to because it's just not worth the conversation. Because then they go, well, why don't you believe in God? And I'm like, none of your damn business. So it doesn't matter because I'm going into a discussion where the person is more than likely 99.9 infinity not going to be open-minded to what I'm going to say. That is a judgment call on my part, which I could certainly be wrong. I try my best in everything I say to leave open-ended. which is a skill I've been developing over a long time because I live my life in a very rigid manner. So going back to what I don't believe in, I don't believe in karma. I don't believe in gut feelings. I don't believe in universal meaning. I don't believe in the law of attraction. I think that there's aspects of if you surround yourself with lots of positive people, you're more than likely to have things be attracted to you in certain ways, but not in the way that most people attribute to the law of attraction. They talk about it in a very wishy-washy way. So I think Ellis put it elegantly when he said he used the word optimal, but I don't like to use that word, but a good combination of principles to live your life is skepticism, realism, and optimism. Skepticism is extremely important. Skepticism shows you, why do I think like that? Realism looks like this. There are people that do really crazy shit in this world, whether you agree with it or not. There are people that are involved in school shootings, severe atrocities in war zones. There are extreme inflations and falls of empires. The Roman Empire, I'm sure they never thought they would fall. I'm sure the Egyptian Empire never thought they would fall. There's extreme poverty. A lot of people, with a billion people still live under $2 a day, and billion to 2 billion people don't have access to running or clean water. So the world is a very brutal and harsh place, but you can be biased by your views. That's why I always use the example of, if you're someone who is a complete alcoholic, then you turned your life around. Now you're the world-class triathlon person. You go on, and that's amazing, great accomplishments. You go on Joe Rogan, you talk about this is why alcohol is the worst thing ever. That is simply not true. It's just a very biased view about this is the way the world should be. So for me, like a good example is, I don't watch pornography because it really affected my life. When people say so that means you're absolutely against pornography. I'm not. I think there's much more cons than pros, but I could see why people use it. I understand why they use it. I'm not saying I agree with that, but I'm not going to speak in absolutes. And it's like what I did with exercise, right? This is the best program. This is how you should diet. None of that stuff matters to me anymore. All those dominoes have fallen away, and I've changed my beliefs. So I think that there's a lot more random luck and chance than what people think. There's random market timing, and then there's just flat out hard work and ethics. But just because you have good personal ethics and just because you have hard work doesn't necessarily mean that that's going to get you to where you want to be in life. So that's kind of the personal philosophy. And people say, well, that's really sad. I say, it's not sad at all. I'm very, very happy. I don't chase happiness, but I'm very happy and content. Content's probably the best word. And just because I don't believe in an afterlife, I'm just enjoying my time while I'm alive. And I think that's how I look at it. Thank you so much for watching. If you have any questions down below, please let me know. Always open to a good discussion. Even if you tell me I'm wrong, you don't believe me or anything, that's fine as well. Again, discussions are important. Link down below. Remember, if you come to one of the webinars, the one-on-one calls, you come from the Facebook group, find us randomly on the internet, you get access to the WhatsApp groups. Inside the WhatsApp groups, there's a lot of random things. Well, not random, but value-based things that won't go anywhere else. The other day, Rob put like an hour and 20 minutes of voice notes in there that doesn't go anywhere else but the WhatsApp group. So it's a great extra service, and it makes you feel not alone. So it's great. Enjoy the rest of your day, everyone.